recent times we have seen threats of attacks against Israeli embassies and representations. Israel's representations and representatives across the world are a target of anti-Semitic terrorism. I recently spoke about that in the memorial ceremony for fallen soldiers. In recent months, I was very much afraid that such a thing would happen, and it did. This happened today. Here at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and all of Israel's representations across the world will be lowering the flag to half-mast due to the murder of our employees. I also spoke to the employees of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and diplomats who are all experiencing difficult conditions, and I am proud to be part of this campaign in this system. We are serving this country, we are dedicated to it, and we symbolize it. They endure attacks and terrible, harsh, toxic words being told to them. That too is like the bullet of terrorism. There is a direct line connecting incitement and anti-Semitism to this terrorism and killing. This incitement also includes foreign speakers and officials speaking on behalf of organizations across the world, and especially in Europe. Words that are like modern blood libels, and are we being well dispersed? The supposed genocide, the supposed human crimes against humanity, and the killing of babies, these all pave the way for these murders. That is the atmosphere around the world that has led to Israeli and Jewish blood being something that can be easily killed. When people believe the Palestinian false accusations, attacks that blame Israel instead of blaming Hamas. Hamas was the one to begin the war on October 7th. Hamas is the only one responsible for it continuing, and it is the sole responsible party for the suffering both in Israel and of the Palestinians. I would like to say today to leaders across the globe that have been swept up by these accusations, stop this incitement against Israel. Stop accusing us falsely. Make us stronger in its historical campaign that has been forced upon it against the evil axis in the Middle East. I spoke several times to our ambassadors today across the world, and I would like to thank them. Thank them for the way that they represent us in the United States, and also in the way that the ambassador in the US, Israel's ambassador to the US, is strengthening his staff. I also spoke to Ambassador Hakavi, who spoke to me about the various authorities who have been investigating this heinous crime. The most senior officials in the U.S. Justice Department are working on this, and we very much appreciate that. Terrorism is following us everywhere, and it is pursuing us, but we will not surrender to it. Israel, since October 7th, has been in a multi-frontal war against its enemies who want to annihilate the state of Israel, the Jewish state. We, who swore never more, never again, will not let it happen. And this is an opportunity to speak of the conference, the anti-Semitism conference, combat conference that will be held in Jerusalem in the next few days. It will be attended by ministers of foreign affairs from different countries and also special envoys combating anti-Semitism and other attendees from across the world. The new anti-Semitism can be seen in the academic world, on campuses, in the media, and on social media. We are committed to combating it with all our strength and might, and we would like to thank our partners around the world who share this struggle and this combat with us. And to all of us here in Israel, I would like to say this morning, Hold your heads up high. Not a single nation in the world would have withstood so valiantly and so mightily what we are still enduring and have been enduring. Let us try to remain united so that we will be able to continue successfully withstand the historical campaign and war that has been forced upon us. This people of Israel will live forever.
Yaron and Sarah Milligram, two young representatives of the State of Israel, were murdered a few hours ago in an horrific terrorist attack in Washington. My condolences go to their families and to the staff of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. I spoke this morning with Daniel, Yaron's father. I told him that his son was a warrior on our diplomatic front that felt just like a soldier in the battlefield. Yaron and Sarah were murdered at the Jewish conference of the AJC. This is the direct result of toxic, anti-Semitic incitement against Israel and Jews around the world that has been going on since the October 7th massacre. Recently, we have witnessed an unprecedented wave of terror attacks and attempts against Israeli missions around the world, with an emphasis on Europe. Israeli missions and representatives around the world are targets of anti-Semitic terrorism that has crossed all red lines. I spoke about this recently on our Remembrance Day at the ceremony for fallen Foreign Service members. I have been worried for the past few months that something like this would happen. And it did. And the list of fallen Foreign Service members has grown today. The Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem and Israeli missions around the world will lower our flags to half-mast following the murder of our workers. My heart today is also with the employees of the Foreign Ministry. They are struggling daily with difficult conditions on the diplomatic front. I am proud to lead these devoted people. They serve the country, are identified with the country, symbolize the country. They are subjected to harsh and poisonous attacks and wars. Today, two of them were shot by a terrorist. There is a direct line connecting anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli incitement to this murder. This incitement is also done by leaders and officials of many countries and international organizations, especially from Europe. The words are the modern blood libels. These libels about genocide, crimes against humanity, and murdering babies paved the way exactly for such murders. The global atmosphere has engaged Israeli and Jewish blood, has endangered Israeli and Jewish blood. This is what happens when leaders in the world surrender to the Palestinian terrorist propaganda and serve it. The statements and attacks blame Israel instead of Hamas. Hamas started the war on October 7th, is solely responsible for the war's continuation, and is solely responsible for the suffering of Israelis and Palestinians alike. I say today to these leaders and officials, stop your incitement against Israel. Stop your false accusations. Strengthen Israel in its historic battle against excess of evil in the Middle East. I spoke several times this morning with our ambassador to the United States, Dr. Yechiel Leiter. I thank him for how he represents us in the United States. I thank him also today for the way he is supporting the embassy employee in these moments. I also spoke with our dear friend, the US Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. Ambassador Huckabee updated me on the intensive investigations underway by several government agencies into this act of terrorism. The most senior officials in the American law enforcement system are closely monitoring this investigation. We appreciate this. Terrorism is chasing us everywhere, but we will not surrender to terrorism. Since October 7th, Israel has been engaged in a battle on multiple fronts. We are fighting against those whose goal is the elimination of the Jewish state. We who swore never again will not allow this to happen. This is an opportunity to announce a conference against anti-Semitism that we will lead in Jerusalem next week, part of Israel's presidency of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. The conference will be attended by foreign ministers and other ministers of IHRA member states. It will also include envoys for combating anti-Semitism and representatives of Jewish communities from these countries. The new anti-Semitism is also rising today on campuses, in the media, and on social networks. We are committed to fighting it with all our might. We thank the partners we have in the world for this fight. The Israeli people, I say this morning, hold your heads high. No other nation would have stood with such a courage, dedication, and resilience in what we have been through and are still going through during this last year and a half. Let us try to strengthen the unity among us so that we continue to stand successfully in the historic struggle that has been forced upon us. Am Yisrael Chai.
Thank you, Foreign Minister. We'll now take a few questions. Yes, please.
Let's bring in now our Middle East correspondent, Alistair Bunkle, who's in Jerusalem. Ali, your reaction to that? I mean, it stood out to me there was a very direct call there from the Foreign Minister to suggest that some rhetoric from European leaders, he wasn't specific by country, but he was by region, had played some part in inciting violence towards Jewish people.
Gideon Sa'ar, understandably deeply upset and outraged by what has happened in Washington, and making the point that the two diplomats who died, in his opinion, as he said, to the families of those two individuals, died like soldiers on the front line. They were working on behalf of Israel abroad, and they were killed because they were Israeli. He blamed blood libel, his words.
They are holding this investigation, and I'm sure they will accurately report about it.
Thank you. Clémence Dibou for BFM TV, French TV. The French government, the British government, the Canadian government, they denounce, I quote, scandalous politics about Israel. Is that something that could lead to this kind of violent action?
I think I said very clear things, so I'm just I can't repeat things I said in Hebrew and English, but you are
but you didn't
invited. You are invited to rewind.
But you didn't mention any country. So, like, I'm French. So, do you think that the French government participates to that atmosphere?
Rewind.
Yes, please.
Mike Schwartz from CNN. Are you worried that this kind of event is going to be happening all around the world now? That we've gone over, that a red line has been crossed?
First of all, I'm very worried. And I want to tell you that during the last months and weeks. We had a couple of incidents in several embassies. Some of them even was not reported, mainly in Europe. And of course, and I've said 3 weeks ago, in our Memorial Day, that we will have challenging days, and I refer to this issue exactly in the continuation of the current wave of anti-Semitism. Will continue to expose Jews around the world, Israelis around the world, and mainly representatives of Israel around the world to terror actions. So the answer is I'm very worried.
James, please.
Thanks. James Shuttleton, the FT. Do you have any figures on how many attacks on embassies or embassy staff there have been since October the 7th, or for this year?
I'm sure that the spokesperson can collect the data
Sure.
and deliver it to the
Okay.
journalists. But I'm saying there is no 1 week without a terror attacks or attempts terror attacks around the world, and usually more than one.
And the second question is, can you give details of the roles that the two victims had at the embassy?
תפקידים שלהם בשגרירות.
יוסי, אתה רוצה להתייחס? בבקשה, תקום, תגיד.
Mission organizer.
Can you say which ones?
Which is which?
Yeah.
The guy is a research assistant with the political department at the embassy, and the second one, the lady, she was organizing missions and visits to Israel.
So there, two of them are staff members.
Yeah, of course.
Please. The microphone is making its way.
Thank you very much. I mean, so neither of them were kind of accredited diplomats in the... Is it
Local and Israeli
local?
stuff, right.
Thank you.
First of all, you keep saying that you recognize a rise in the number of diplomatic attacks. Are you planning to limit the movement of Israeli diplomats across the globe? And can you confirm that the security have told the Israeli representative across the US not to attend any event, including the Jewish community, even not to go to a synagogue in the coming days? And are you planning to change the way Israeli diplomats are operate around the world? And I do want to ask you, you keep saying for world's leader, stop the incitement. But when they're saying Israel, mainly after the Prime Minister's press conference yesterday, Israel is offering the same, more destruction, more death. What do you tell them? Actually, the call was Israel offer more same thing.
Not offer. I don't think it will be constructive to repeat here on anti-Semitic libels. That's for your second question. With regard to the first one, I'm keeping the instructions on security instructions for those who are responsible for that, usually and specifically for now, and that is something that monitored all the time. And when there are needs for different or new instructions, it is given. By the way, it's not my decisions, it's decisions of those who are responsible for the security.
Okay. We are moving on. Last question. Yes, please.
פעם שנייה? סיבוב שני?
No.
Okay.
James Mackenzie from Reuters. Could you just tell us whether, it's a very, tense climate internationally over lots of issues, the Gaza war, anti-Semitic attacks and so on. Can you say whether there is any sort of concrete contact with countries in Europe say about, between Israeli authorities and European authorities about what can be done in response to these kind of incidents, beyond the sort of political atmosphere there is?
There is contact, and I can say that there is a concern in European countries and for security threats, and steps are taken from time to time. But what is lack, I feel, is the connection between the atmosphere created in specific words and this kind of wave of anti-Semitism we are facing. And again, I want to mention, war is something very tough, very bad. Images from war, as far as I know, are never pleasant. But the question is, who is responsible for this war? Who initiated this war? Who is responsible for the continuation of this war? Who is causing the suffering also of the Palestinians? And the answer is on the images that are rarely being seen on Western screens, including during the last days, of brave demonstrators in Gaza that go to the street, risking themselves, shouting, "Hamas out, bring them back their hostages because we want to finish the war." But this is ignored. So who is responsible for this war? Who is more of the same, Lady Channel 12. More of the same is something that the terrorists offers for their people and for us. For us, elimination. For the people, continuation of suffering. This is the more of the same we are looking for.
Okay.
תודה רבה לכם.
Thank you.
תודה שבאת.
Thank you.